Thank you, Senator Leno. Senator Nielsen?
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, allow me to begin with a heartfelt thanks to our hardworking budget chair. Indeed, that is, I think, one of the hardest jobs in this legislature next to being the pro tem. He is a pleasure indeed for me to work with, always accommodating and helpful. And I want to thank all of the members of that budget committee. You are very unsung in your labors, giving up your Thursday afternoons every week and a lot more than that, including your preparation time. Most of your constituents have no idea how many hours you put in doing your labors on the budget. And indeed, the Republican and the Democratic staff members who put even more hours in than the members do. This is indeed the toughest committee to be a part of, but I would further argue the most rewarding. If one wants to really know how government works and to have a hand in how government can work, this is the place to be. We don't always agree, but I have found over the years, particularly working with the budget chair, we find more often agreement than disagreement. In this particular budget, I'm going to argue for a no vote on the bill today, and it isn't because we didn't find an awful lot of room for agreement. It is going to be because I am a little nervous about the future path and some of the signs that I see built into the budget that maybe are not so obvious, but are a product of the deeper scrutiny that I see from the hours that I've spent on the budget. And that's internal, agency by agency, fee by fee, policy by policy. Policies that are going to be more long-term and lasting than short-term, and policies that are very significant. Some of which are embodied in trailer bills, some of which I will be supportive of and argue for yes votes, some of which I will argue against. And the trailer bills have become very problematic. There are major policies inculcated in some of these trailer bills every year, including this year, that will have but cursory review, and they have huge historic impact on the people of the state of California. And those citizens will hardly know what that impact is until somewhere out there down the way it affects their lives. And in this budget, some are going to be affected in very drastic and very harsh ways. That is a problem. But to the credit of the committee, this year it was a more open process than in other years that I've had to deal with it. We've all had our priorities. One of our priorities was we would have hoped that we could have dealt with transportation with the resources within the context of this budget, not have to pass this budget along and then deal with the transportation needs of the state in the special session dealt with through funding with major tax increases. Our arguments has consistently been that we could do it in those ways rather than in huge tax increases. And there are going to be a few things that I'll mention later in regards to trailer bills as far as this is concerned. It is a good faith attempt, but I would argue not worthy of a yes vote because there are going to be consequential steps here that would put us on the threshold. I will also want to acknowledge the governor for his steadfastness in terms of sequestering more dollars that we have available into the reserve. He is cognizant and has very forcefully and vocally noted that we are facing a looming recession out there and that we well better be ready for it. This budget didn't go as far as I feared it was going to put us on a collision course for the future. It simply went further than I would have hoped. Hence my recommendation for a no vote.
Thank you, Senator Nielsen. Senator Bates?
Thank you, Madam President and members. First of all, let me give my great appreciation to the great senator from San Francisco and my colleague from Tehama. I want you to know that I have great admiration for the time you put in on this budget and the manner in which you conducted the deliberations. However, I have to rise to express one significant omission, and I think you heard this in conference committee, but I don't want it to be overlooked. I have great passion for this issue because we do have a crisis in California due to the caseloads in our state's dependency courts. I recognize there was a discussion of providing the $29 million for Dependency Council, which was only part of that nearly $196 million. We need to address this crisis, and that number has been provided to us by the experts who are in the business of representing our children. Sadly, the $29 million funding never made it into the budget. That funding would have reduced unbelievably high caseloads. I know about high caseloads. I once upon a time had some myself. The priorities that you have to use to address the very, very needy individuals in those caseloads escape us when we do not have the resources to really dig in and help those who are most vulnerable. It also increased the court's ability to process cases, promoted fully informed judicial decisions, speed family reunification, and permanent placement and limited families reentry into dependency. All of this for some of California's most abused and neglected children. While this budget sets a new spending record, $122 billion for the general fund, $7 billion higher than last year, surely if we shine the light on this particular need as we go forward, I am hoping that some of that will find its way into this very, very important need. And I believe this is nonpartisan. I think we embrace the situation that we find our children in, and the senator from San Francisco, when I raised this, made it very clear that this is certainly a very, very important and high priority need. So I'm just saying we missed the opportunity going forward. If we have an opportunity, let's really dig in and make this happen for our kids, for our family reunifications, and certainly for those very, very noble servants, public servants, I will point out, who labor in our social services throughout the state of California to ensure that those who have not been as fortunate as all of us who sit here today, or perhaps didn't have the guidance that they need in their families to achieve that economic independence and security, that we focus on that and help them. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bates. Senator Mitchell?
Thank you, Madam President. Just very briefly, as I listened to Senator Nielsen's comments with regard to the critical role of the chair of the Budget Committee and the role of the Budget Committee itself, I wanted to stand as a Budget Subcommittee chair to acknowledge that this will be the last budget from our overseen by our colleague from San Francisco, who has chaired budget committees in both houses, and a unintended negative consequence of term limits. Our institutions and therefore the residents of the state of California will lose the valuable benefit of continuity of serving on the budget committee and chairing the budget committee over time, and how that empowers us as legislators to have expertise and grounding in these critical areas that impact every resident of the state. So before we get deeper into our deliberations today, I wanted to acknowledge the chair of the committee and his years of committed service and the thousands of hours he has devoted as chair of budget committees in both the Senate and the Assembly. And thank you on behalf of every resident of the state of California.
Thank you, Senator Mitchell, and thank you, Senator Leno. Senator Morlock.
Thank you, Madam President. The senator from Los Angeles beat me to the punch. Okay. senator from San Francisco has done an outstanding job as chair of the Budget Committee, Budget and Fiscal Review, and he's right. We never have enough funds to meet all of our priorities, but he has done an excellent job of shepherding this process. So I want to thank you very, very much. This is the largest budget. You're leaving us with the largest budget in the 166-year history of California. But there are things on the future that I'm just concerned about that you're going to miss, and hopefully they don't come to fruition. But in the last year, our unfunded retiree medical liability went up $6 billion more, from $74 billion to from $64 billion to $70 billion. Our pension plan, just for CalPERS alone, only earned 2.4% last year, so it was 5% short. So 5% on a $400 billion portfolio, it's $20 billion. And right now we're looking at maybe just earning 2.4 again this year. So that's another 20 billion we're going to fall short. So 40 billion short, you divide that by 30, we're going to look at another billion a year that we're going to have to start funding. So we're also looking at the increases in the minimum wage and the negotiated salary increases. So the future years will be difficult, and we should be calling on you for assistance as we try to manage with these difficult and awkward constraints, even without the possibility of a recession. So, colleagues, we are doing fine things here in the state of California, but I'm one of those accountants that sees the glass as half empty, and I'm very nervous about the years to come. When you project out and look at the 10-year forecast, our revenues will be below our expenses, and it will be very difficult. So with that, these may be our best days, and I'm praying I'm wrong, but in the meantime, I'll be voting no on this budget.
Thank
But
you.
with all due respect to the chair of Budget and Fiscal Review. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Morlock. Senator Stone?
Thank you, Madam President. I also would like to pay homage to the great senator from San Francisco and the great work that he's done in the state of California. In now 25 years of being an elected official, I can't think of anybody that I've served with that has been more professional, more courteous, and is representative of the collegiate body that this Senate aspires to be. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate you. I appreciate your service. We don't always agree on things, but you always keep things apersonal. You stick to the issues, and it's just been an honor to serve with you, and I regret that I won't have more years of service with you. So, my friends, one of the most important responsibilities that we have as elected officials is to pass our budget and to have a sustainable finance system for the state of California. And I'm concerned that as we take in more money in the state of California, in this year, a record $122.5 billion is being spent. It's because our revenues have increased by ways in which we may not see those increases in the future. I know that there are many of you that would like to see the extension of Prop 30, and we'll see that on the ballot. And the state will try to make the argument, as we're doing better, that we need to extend this tax. And my concern is that if the voters don't approve that tax, that we are going to be putting ourselves in fiscal harm's way. Not only do I see it this way, but according to Moody's, California is the least capable of enduring a potential recession in the next 2 years when compared to other states like Texas and Florida and New York. The Mercatus Center at George Mason University has ranked California 44th for fiscal strength, citing our heavy reliance on debt financing, which is a great concern of my senator friend from Orange County. This budget does a lot of wonderful things. I'm not one that just looks at the glass half empty or half full. I just like to look at it comprehensively. I like the fact that it includes $2 billion that's going to go into our rainy day fund. I like the fact that we've strengthened K-12 schools and higher education, but unfortunately, it puts us on a collision course for future deficits. Governor Brown, his administration even projected a deficit in 2019-20 of $4.1 billion. I'm concerned that many of you that were here when we had a budget crash in 2008, 2009, and had to slash so many important programs important to many of you, that we're either going to be seeing those days or many will be crying for yet more taxes in a state that sees more taxes and imposes more taxes on its residents than any other state. The minimum wage is going to be another issue, which was voted by this House, by this Assembly, signed by the governor, but we all know that that's going to be a $4 billion hit between now and 2022. Not to mention that we as a state have to begin paying for our fair share of the Affordable Health Care Act, commonly known as Obamacare, in 2017. A few concerns. I'm concerned that we're willing to spend $1.3 billion on a few buildings here in Sacramento at a time when the California Transportation Commission has said they're not going to spend $700 million on infrastructure. Will $700 million infrastructure solve our infrastructure problems in the state of California? I think we all know no. We have about a $57 billion need. But I think the $1.3 billion for office space here in Sacramento would be a great down payment and would be very symbolic to our citizens that we're addressing the infrastructure deficiencies that we have in our wonderful state. I also think that we've done a good job in keeping our promise to many people that need our services, but we have not gone all the way. I'm very concerned about DentalCal. It is rough when you have a toothache, you have an abscess, and you can't go see a dentist. We had recommended $200 million to fix a broken dental care system that unfortunately was omitted from the budget. My friends, one issue that you're going to hear from pharmacies in your respective districts, especially those of you that serve in urban areas, that there was a federal mandate that reduced ingredient costs for pharmacies. In many cases, traditional pharmacies that are going to get reimbursed less than they have to pay for those drugs. Now, the way that other states are responding to this is that they're increasing their dispensing fees because they've got contemporary studies showing what the true costs are of providing that service. Unfortunately, the state of California has not done a study since 2007. One is underway, but it's not going to come to fruition until April of 2017, which means many of our local pharmacies are independent pharmacies, many of which have been handed over from generation to generation that serve the underserved, our Medi-Cal patients, will be at risk of closing their doors. And then eyeglasses, optometry services, making sure that people have the ability to get in their cars and drive to work or be able to use their glasses to get jobs, providing one pair of glasses every 2 years. These are essential services that our struggling Californians certainly need. And then also, I think that some of the fees that are increased in this budget disproportionately hurt the people that we're trying to help the most, the lower income people. Vehicle registration fees are going up 23%, from $43 to $53. Maybe $10 is not enough, not a lot of money to you or I, but for some people that live paycheck to paycheck, $10 can buy a few gallons of milk. It raises $140 million in fees on cell phones, not to provide emergency cell phones for the indigent and those that are low income, but it gives them texting and data plans far beyond the scope of what that was supposed to do. And then, of course, one of the biggest boondoggles in the state that we all know is the governor's idea is this, what we call the train to nowhere, where after this year's budget, we will be at $1.7 billion. That's $930 million over the current year spending. And lastly, my friends, we have a lot of debt, as my good friend from Orange County mentioned. We should be taking some of this excess revenue that we're very fortunate to get these days, and we should be paying down more of our debt that's estimated to be $330 billion. So my friends, I regretfully appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this budget. It's difficult to vote for some of these trailer bills because there's good things in them and there's bad things in them. So it's a difficult vote for all of us to have to take. But I also want to take this opportunity and thank the chairwoman of Budget Sub 3, the great senator from Los Angeles. It has been an honor over the past 2 years to serve with you. You have been such an inspiration, and you've taught me so much about social services in the state of California with your wonderful historical background and passion for helping people, which is very contagious. And also the great senator from Santa Cruz, you're a gentleman, sir. It's an honor to serve with you. And unfortunately today I can't support the budget, but it's an honor to serve with each and every one of you. And I know that you all care about people, and we all have different viewpoints on how we get there, but it's an honor to know each and every one of you and to serve with you.
Thank you, Senator Stone. Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Madam President and colleagues. You know, the budget is probably the most important, not only fiscal document, but it is the moral document of the state of California. It shows us where our values are, who the people are that we recognize need help and need assistance and need the support of the state, whether it's in education or healthcare or social services. This is the defining document that all of us have the opportunity either to support or to reject. There is something in here that is good for everyone from their perspective of what those priorities are. And of course, there are always compromises that are made. And I too want to thank the chair of the Budget Committee, who always forces us to take a good hard look at those very, very difficult issues. And this year, I am very proud to cast my vote for a budget that includes two of the hard-fought priorities that have been championed by the Women's Caucus for many, many years: child care and the repeal of the maximum family grant rule. This year, we were able to secure a multi-year commitment and investment that will provide over $500 million for child care over the next 4 years. This will ensure that parents can keep earning and children can keep learning. For far too many families, the cost of child care is out of reach, rivaling college tuition or monthly rent. By investing and stabilizing our state-supported child care system, we are ensuring that more parents can work and children can learn, and our child care workers are better served and valued for what they do. We know that child care is education, a sound and wise investment in our future, and a strong start prevents academic interventions later on. For the first time in almost a decade, we will be reimbursing child care providers at the market rate, and we will be providing close to 9,000 full-day preschool slots for our four-year-olds over the next 4 years. There is more work to do, certainly, on slots. We have 200,000 or more children on the waiting list for child care slots, but we have made a significant step over the last 2 years in recognizing and addressing that problem. But this fiscal contribution, this investment, means a much more functional and stable child care system for California's low-income families, one that serves California's young children better, its child care workers better, and serves the needs of working families better. I want to also acknowledge and agree with the comments of my colleague, a former social worker from down south there in the Newport Beach area, and recognize that we have a need that has not been addressed, that has been talked about but must be addressed when it comes to dealing with children in the dependency courts. These are children who have great needs. They are in a system and underserved for reasons that have nothing to do with who they are, but have to do with the circumstances in which they find themselves. And the fact that we are not providing the resources necessary for their advocates to give them the services, to provide and represent them properly in proceedings, I think is truly a disservice to the state. And I would also like to mention that the overwhelming majority of these people providing these services are women. And I think as we go forward, perhaps in this year, but going forward, these are our neediest children, our most vulnerable children. They need this assistance. And I know, again, this is a document of choices, but it's also a moral document, and these children deserve our help. So with that, the glass is truly more than half full at this moment, certainly on behalf of the Women's Caucus. I thank everyone. I thank our leadership for fighting hard for us. I thank all of the members of this House who have fought for this issue, and I particularly thank the advocates who have been fighting this battle. This is a victory today, but there are many, many more challenges and battles ahead. With that, I urge your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. Senator De Leon.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to close out this debate on our budget bill, the conference report that's before us, Senate Bill 826. I'm going to start off by doing what many folks have done on this floor already publicly, by lifting their microphone, by thanking very much our chair of the Budget Committee. He is a very elegant, very intelligent, and very compassionate man. And this budget document is a reflection of his incredible skill set for a man who's been at the helm of the Senate Budget Committee for 6 years. And I want to thank you for your incredible public service to California, the incredible skill set, the talents that you have brought to this institution. Because again, it is a reflection of the skillful ability that you have adopted over the course of 6 years to be what I believe is one of the best budget chairs this Senate institution has ever had. So thank you very much, my friend from San Francisco. To the Budget Vice Chair, Mr. Nielsen, thank you very much. Also, your experience, your insight, your ability to highlight certain issues that are important to Californians is very, very important. I want to thank you very much for your contribution to this conference report. To the conferees, Mr. Lara, as well as Ms. Bates and Ms. Hancock, thank you very much, again, for the long, long weekend hours and the long nights. And this is before you get to conference committee and have the discussions publicly and openly, but these are the long briefing sessions that folks don't know about when you're hidden in a budget room and poring over document over document. Thank you very much. And to our sub-chairs, as well as to the overall members of the Budget Committee, thank you very, very much. I believe that this is a measure that we can all be proud of because it is a fiscally prudent, responsible, and balanced budget. We make strategic investments in the most important asset that California has. That's the human capital of its people. By actually opening up more than 7,500 brand new enrollment slots. The CSU, as well as the University of California, the finest public institution in America, if not the world. We're actually opening up more than 7,000 brand new enrollment slots. Think about it. Enrollment slots for Californians. Enrollment slots for those at the lowest economic strata. From San Bernardino to Modesto and elsewhere. These kids are going to have a fighting chance to move on to higher education. Not just if you come from the highest income zip code in California. This is a real ability to break that cycle of poverty and move on to higher education. And no better place than the 6th largest economy on planet Earth. Now, higher education. As was mentioned before a few moments ago, 9,000 brand new child care, or I should say pre-K slots. 9,000. Full day, not half day, where the mom has to figure out what she's going to do for the latter part of the afternoon. Full day, morning to afternoon. 9,000 brand new pre-K slots, because if that mother, especially that single working mother, if she can't earn, then she can't pay to put that roof over that child's head. 9,000 full-time pre-K slots, plus expansion with regards to rates, I should say, with regards to childcare. That is huge, and I want to thank the Women's Caucus for being the conscious and for the force behind this, and for your leadership, Senator Hannah-Beth Jackson. Thank you very much. What was already spoken about, MFG, Maximum Family Grant. We all know this is discriminatory. We know it is wrong. It has been wrong for so long, and the one force within our caucus, one force within this Senate institution that has been true and consistent on this issue, even when not all of us were listening, years ago. But Senator Holly Mitchell, thank you. Thank you, because it is being repealed largely because of you. And I want to thank you very much, openly and publicly. This is a major, major victory for working families throughout the state of California. MFG, 9,000 pre-K slots, higher rates for childcare, 7,500 brand new enrollment slots. These are investments in the assets that matter most to Californians, which are our people. I believe it's a fiscally prudent, responsible, and balanced budget, because guess what? We don't make any assumptions with regards to Proposition 30. In fact, we make the assumption that Proposition 30 may not pass at all come November. It's ultimately up to the people of California to make their own decision. But we have structured this budget, this conference report, assuming there will be no additional revenues come late fall. That is responsible. We double down in our reserves because we factor in potential MOUs. So we know what's coming down the pipeline in the near horizon. And we double down in a historic amount of rainy day funds, because we know in a globalized, highly complex world, what may happen across the world in China or elsewhere will have a direct impact on California. There's several issues that are still on the table today, and that's why the special session on transportation is not closed. In fact, it is open. So that means all the hard work by Senator Jim Bell and others on both sides of the aisle here are still on the table and at play to get something done. Because irrespective of this conference committee, taking into account that it is a very strong possibility that Prop 30 may not be extended in the fall. We don't know. We know the voters will decide come November 8th. But we know that it is incumbent on all of us as policymakers, irrespective of this conference report, to move policies that help provide for economic growth. By providing for economic growth, we generate more revenues. When we generate more revenues, we know what's on the table to make strategic investments to get a rate of return for the investors of California. An educated workforce, a workforce that's prepared with an economy that's been recalibrated for tomorrow with jobs that will be in existence today. Again, we are, and I correct myself because I know for the past year, I've been saying the 7th largest GDP. We're the 6th largest GDP. And to put this in context, because there was made reference to Florida and Texas. Texas is number 2, Florida is number 3. California has created more jobs, and we're the number 1 state in the nation for job creation. In fact, the jobs that we have created outpace Florida and Texas combined. Florida and Texas job creation combined, California outpaces them. And I believe that because of the hard work that we have done here across the board, that we have helped send market signals to the private sector that we're actually open for business for economic growth in California. So again, this is a compassionate budget that makes certain strategic investments that we believe the mid to long term will get an incredible rate of return by educating and by taking care of the most vulnerable. At the same time, it's fiscally prudent by doubling down on our reserves as well as our rainy day fund to make sure whatever is looming on the horizon, any type of economic recession, we're prepared. With any MOU negotiations that are still fluid and dynamic, we have our reserves there. We're taking into account every other aspect that may come in the future. Now, we don't have a crystal ball because we don't know what may happen. We just got off the worst economic recession a few years removed since 1929. And I know there was made reference to Moody's. I know Moody's, credit reporting actually helped us get into this financial debacle mess in the first place with regards to their methodology or lack thereof when they provided the credit ratings for certain financial products that went belly up that ended up hurting us in the state of California. So we got to think about this intelligently. This is a smart budget. This is a responsible budget. This is a budget for all of California. With that, Madam President, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator De Leon. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Bates. No. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Gaggiani. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wesso. Aye. Huff. No. Jackson. Lada. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leyva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. No. Nilsson. No. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Stone. No. Vidak. No. Wykowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Anderson. No. Berryhill. De Leon. Aye. Runner.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ayes 27, noes 11. The measure passes.